How are you doing?
I'm alrighty. Wow.
Good.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people that are going through their things, and they want to do interviews, and
I bet you're a busy guy.
it seems like it's kind of picking up a little bit. Oh yeah.
I've been saying to a few people online that, yeah, I've got a definite sense of that now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you got some news for us?
Yeah, I was at, what should we say, my private residence today with my friend Maria, who is I was saying to her in the week, she's like my support team.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she hasn't gone without a name yet, she's getting an understanding, good understanding of it through what I tell her.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at this property outside the front of the house, as it was a nice day, and my dog was outside just having a little bit of a play on the grass, and a police car rolls up, goes past, and just thought, right, just ignore it. But they came back and they pulled up, and my friend Maria was saying, oh, they're stopping, they're coming up here. And I thought, oh God, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And whilst it was in some ways expected, obviously just out of pure optimism, I was thinking, given all the emails and the letter that I've sent to certain living beings animating their illegal or legal capacities, I thought, hopefully, as we discussed before, there should be no further comeback. Mm-hmm. However, it has been demonstrated to me that they are extremely obtuse and extremely reluctant to take on board the truth that I am conveying to them, to the point that they came up to the property and asked for the legal name, which I denied. I said no, and the looks of confusion from them. And they persisted, and I explained to them, it's illegal to use a legal name. By asking me for a legal name or ID is aiding and abetting fraud, and they don't have the capacity to comprehend, basically.
Right.
So, as I was reflecting earlier, since being again released. That they are really hardwired, programmed automatons who have no concept of anything outside their belief structure. So I was there behind my garden gate, or the garden gate, and they insisted, they continued, and it was obvious they weren't going to accept anything that I was saying as valid. And then they made gestures and so on that they would call more reinforcements, other actors to come and forcibly take me down to the police station. So given that, I could tell you, reading the situation, I just knew that rather than be obtuse or belligerent myself, it would probably go a lot better if I offered to them. I said, look, I'll come down with you on the understanding that I'm not responding to a legal name, I do not consent, but I would like to clear this matter up. So I chose to go with them in their police car, and they took me down to the station, and whilst on the way I was doing my level best to try and get through to them on the level of the fact that it's all wheels in a commercial machine. It's designed to generate revenue. And there's a male actor and a female actor. And one thing I've come to notice is the female actors in this in these roles that they animate, are generally more obtuse than the males. The guy who was there. I got his name. It was I forget his surname, but he referred to himself as Chris. He was very open to, or relatively, I say, open and interested to what I was saying to him. So this time, there was no need for the handcuffs as they kind of aggressively and forcibly put me into last time. So I commented on that and said, it's a lot more, a lot less distressful, not wearing handcuffs. And on the journey down there, just trying to, get through to them, and but they proceeded to accompany me, shall we say, under my perceived threat of worse things that could happen, into the police station, where last time I was there, they put me in one of these tiny little cubicles with a glass secured front door, as a holding cage, pen box, whatever you want to call it. This time they didn't lock it, which was nice. And I continued to chat to the male actor, Chris, whilst the door was open, and they kind of said, "Oh, take a seat there whilst we sort out the process, the administration, and all that." And I was just chatting to this Chris and talking about the legal name fraud, how it relates to, it's all back down to the birth certificate. It's not, it's a legal title. It's the security bond for the commercial account for that entity, and so on and so forth. And I managed to give him one of my slips that I carry in my wallet. Like you were saying on one of the other shows the other day, we carry wallets, but I had some money in it, but other than that, it's just a non-official or a non-ID card, that I call it, and some slips that say it's illegal to use a legal name, Google legal name fraud. So I passed him one of those and said, in your own time, once you've finished your job, research it, Google this. You'll find it fascinating, because I could perceive that he had to whatever level, but he had an interest in what I was saying. So whilst they were doing it, there's all the different actors changing places and so on, and there was a couple of guys there who recognised me from before, and it was like, "Oh, hi, yeah, you back again, yeah." And they kind of knew the drill. They were asking me all these questions, and they said, "You're not going to sign for anything, are you?" I said, "Nope." And they asked me the questions that they do, and a series of about 8 or 10 questions. I can't really remember, but I just said, "No response, no response, no response, no response," on and on and on. And the last question was, "Have you got anything to add that, according to you're being, as they say, arrested?" My interpretation to them, as I fed back to them continually, was, "I'm being abducted unlawfully." And I just said, as my last, the last question, I just said, "It's illegal to use a legal name," and so on and so forth. So they held me in the one of the cells there. I think it was about an hour and a half this time, and they were basically saying to me, well, the reason they brought me in, just to backtrack a bit, was because the legal name that they were assuming and presuming me to be had been issued with it was like, I can't remember precisely, but a bail date hearing or something at the police station for I think it was Tuesday, like the Tuesday just gone, which I duly ignored because it doesn't apply to me, because I'm not the legal name.
Right. And that's an offer they were making. They were making a legal offer, and it had nothing to do with you, so you just ignored it. Yeah,
precisely. But they continue to refuse this concept of truth, that I am not that legal title, and it's got to the point where probably, other than maybe one or two of them who are mildly receptive and interested, there's obviously no point in, to a degree, very little point in trying to encourage them to listen to what I have to say, because they're just, they do only what they're told to do, allowed to do. So because I hadn't turned up, the police had turned up and abducted me again because the legal name failed to appear for this bail thing on Tuesday. But in the meantime, I think, as I might have mentioned to you, I'd written and sent a physical letter to the Chief Constable of South Wales,
right,
or the legal being, as we discussed about the content, which was received by LAW and signed for. I also sent a copy of the letter, but addressed to the Police Crimes Commissioner, which is above the Chief Constable for Wales. I also sent an email to each of, firstly, I think he's the First Minister for the Welsh Assembly, which is, if you like, the Welsh government section of the UK government incorporated, as well as a local, I don't know what he's called, I've got his leaflet here, assembly member, which is like a kind of politician for Swansea East, as he's called, a guy called Mike Hedges. I can send you copies of all of these if it's any use to you. And the only response I've got so far, given that I included the part in the email to this Mike Hedges saying that nil or non-response to this will effectively form a tacit agreement to all the facts herein being true, he responded and just put something like, refer you to something or other act, blah, 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 Mike, which is absolutely, totally redundant.
Right.
So, given that, I was kind of hoping that, given I'd sent out these communications to these actors, that they may have cascaded it down, saying, "Look, yeah, as we discussed before, look, back off. This guy's, sussed the scam. Best leave him alone," as we kind of hoped they would. But they're just belligerent and won't listen to a bloody thing. So anyway, I was held in the police station for pending going to the court this afternoon. And obviously all against my will. There was handcuffs and locked cells all the way. But I had this. I maintained a healthy level of energy and vibration, knowing that I'm not going to be kept overnight this time. I'm going to, by the sounds of it, I'm going to be taken to court. There might be a light at the end of that tunnel. We'll see. And we'll see how this goes. And the way I was looking at it is that I am the tool, shall we say, the arrow of truth. And with me, I managed to bring with me a copy of the Clausula Rebus Sic. I was trying to memorize it again.
Substantialist.
Yeah.
Substantialist, yeah.
The CRSS. I had a copy of that and a printed copy of the letter which I'd sent to the Chief Constable forming a tacit agreement. So I was in the cell for a while. They removed all items from me: my jacket, my wallet, my house key, my shoes, anything that wasn't. They just left me with my socks, jeans, underwear, and t-shirt and jumper that I was wearing, and locked me in the cage for I think it was an hour or an hour and a half, whilst they were sorting out the process for me to go to the court, which is just over the road, literally over the road. Mm-hmm. So whilst I was in there, I had the copies of the paperwork with me, so I was just passing my time just reading them over and over, and to read them thoroughly again and again, it takes some time, and it passed the time. It was quite nice. So then they brought me out again, and given that I'd signed nothing and they'd removed all my belongings other than main clothing, they bagged up my belongings, put them in their safe room or whatever, and they they asked me, am I going to sign for this to return my blinds? I said, no, I'm not. And, I'd be breaking the law if I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to, because I was waiting, basically I was waiting, or they were waiting to transport me in one of these big, the company over here is CEO Amy, which is like the security transportation for prisoners.
Okay.
So they were waiting for that, and there was delays in the van coming. And given it's just literally over the road, okay, it is absolutely laughable and pathetic. So this security actor comes in, and he's got CEO Amy all over his on his top. And I was trying to establish, what role do you function under, and all this stuff. And he said, I'm whatever, prison something or other security officer, blah blah blah. And then they proceeded to handcuff me again, to transport me literally out the door into this van, in which, the thing with this time as well, I had absolutely no fear. I was reveling in the fact that, wow, this is an amazing experience.
Yeah.
This is an experience that not many, non-criminals get to have. Right. So I was just lapping it up for that, and I was just laughing to myself all the way through it. So you go in this van, and this van has the best description is almost like toilet cubicles without a toilet in this van, and they lock you in, and it's all high security, and it's incredibly, retarded in my opinion. But so then the van is there stuck in the police yard because a couple of police vans are blocking this security van in. Yeah, and they have to ring over the road to the court to try and get somebody of substance over there to ring the custody sergeant to ask them to move the vehicle that's blocking them in, because it's nearly 4 o'clock, and the magistrates obviously want to clock off at probably 5 o'clock and go home and enjoy their very civilized whatever. So I'm in this thing, and I'm talking to anybody I get a chance to. I'm talking about the legal name fraud, and do you understand this? Have you ever heard of it? And nobody's heard of it, and most of them just cannot grasp the concept, which I can understand to a point, because when I first came over the concept, it takes a little while to get it round your head and change your whole viewpoint of how this structure, this system operates. So, giving them the benefit of the doubt, and the IQs that they are picked for, you've got to be a bit patient with these guys. So, eventually, somebody manages to move this police van that was blocking the security van transport, whatever. And we come out of the police station. I can see out of these reinforced windows. There's a little kind of peephole that you can see out from the van. And you drive, literally, I could have walked from the police station to the magistrates' court in under 60 seconds. And so they have to go all the way around this one-way system, which is diabolical in what they call the city of Swansea anyway. Round the back of all these buildings, all these different turns and twists. And then they park outside the other side of the magistrates' court. Let me out of my little cubicle, firstly putting handcuffs back on, because I'm such a dangerous criminal, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I'm escorted into this dungeon effect affair, where there's a lot of, shall we say, hired heavies in, costumes and long chains with keys on and so on.
Were there any whips along with those chains? I mean, are you sure it wasn't an S&M type thing that you were?
No, but I'm sure they keep them at their relative abodes, for their private enjoyment. But they're short of being hunchbacks and dragging a club or their knuckles on the floor, it wasn't far off it. And so then they bring me through, and there's continual All right, what's your name? And I say, I can't give you a name. I cannot give you a legal name. And then like looks of confusion and non-comprehension. And at this point, it is becoming highly entertaining.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the guy to show up with the black leather mask.
Oh yeah, and the billiard ball.
Right.
Yeah. So they're kind of like totally nonplussed, and they have no concept of what's going on. They're just they're doing what they're programmed to do, and they lock me into another cell. This time, this one's got no toilet like the one at the police station. It's just a smaller hole in the wall with a big heavy door. Whilst they wait for the magistrates to sort out whatever they're sorting out, and having never been in a court in my life before, I had no idea what to expect. So then they came and let me out, and it took me to see I think he was referred to as a solicitor, who I didn't consent to see, but I just went through the motions, and this guy called Mike Davis, I think it was a typical Welsh name, nice guy as living beings go. Obviously, he was fulfilling his legal role as a I think it's like the whatever statutory or whatever state-appointed council or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was actually, fair play to him, he was very receptive, nice guy. And I said, look, you haven't come across this before, I'm sure, because nobody else has. Have you ever heard of legal name fraud? And he said, no. And he said, I've heard of, there's a couple of people today who were saying, we've come across people who have fraudulently used other people's identification and all that stuff, and
right.
Get to the point of clarifying it. That's not this. And this guy, again, I had the thing of because I'm probably of a slightly higher IQ than the majority of their customers. I had a couple of comments of, well, you're obviously an intelligent guy, da 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 da. And I said, reciprocated and said to this counsel, I said, as you're obviously an intelligent guy, I'm hoping that you'll have some comprehension of what I'm about to tell you. So he asked me loads of questions, and anything pertaining to legal name, I said, I cannot consent. I do not consent. Da da da. I can't give you a name. I'm not going to acknowledge being or anything associated with any illegal title because. And I went to explain, and I showed him the printed letter that effectively forms a tacit agreement with the Chief Constable of South Wales, the actor who is that, and the CRSS, of which he quickly kind of skimmed through the letter that I'd sent to the Chief Constable. Didn't have, obviously these guys, they're all under time pressure because their roles are so important. Didn't obviously go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but my objective was, and I said to him explicitly, look, I have these, but I need you to ensure me that these get to the clerk of the court. Which he said, yeah, that's fine, no problem. And I believe he will have taken a copy for himself to indulge himself with later. So that was that, and he said, this is all stuff. I'm fascinated by this, and I said, well, beware once you get into it, you might find that you have to drop it like a hot brick because of the truth that it is. And he was explaining, I'm this and I'm that, and I'm like, well, at no point did I consent to him being my representative or anything like that. But in a way, I'm glad that he was there for one only reason, because later on they put me back in this other cage, and when after about another hour or so, maybe a couple hours, I was escorted out and up through a couple of other passageways into, I had no idea where I was going. I knew that they said, well, you're going to see the magistrates, or you're going to the court now. And I thought, okay, well, I've injected the the virus,
yes.
one way or another.
Yes.
It's in there.
Let me stop you just for a moment here.
So please stop me whenever, because I'll just carry on and on.
just to really bring this out for people, because that will hear this. So this bar attorney, what name was he using?
He's not. I clarified. He is not a bar member. Right. He's a I suppose solicitor, but he's not a barrister.
Okay, this is there's a little bit different custom over there. A solicitor can be a non-bar attorney.
Yes, but that's one thing I made a point of clarifying. I said to him, "Are you a bar card holder, a member of the bar association?" And he said no.
Okay, and he's real clear about that, right?
Yeah, okay. I clarified that for definite, yeah.
Oh, okay, so, and then he did indicate that he was fascinated by the information that you were sharing with him about the legal name fraud.
Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. And he came across did he come across like he works quite a bit with attorneys and has a good comprehension of legal?
He expressed to me that he was like, in the legal circle, he was like a GP that would be in a medical circle. He's not a specialist.
Right.
And he said to me that he would need to refer to a specialist for this particular information because he's not educated in it. And I said to him, well, beware, because if a specialist, as in barrister, whatever you want to call them, gets to understand this, they will probably have to, as I keep saying, drop it like a hot coal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't touch it. It's kryptonite. Yeah.
Exactly, but this is the whole point. It's become clearer and clearer now that these guys are they're like shopkeepers.
Right.
They know the price of the items. They know what the items are for, and they're really not informed at all.
Yeah, this solicitor guy, he's one of the levels that it's an insulation level between you and the barristers, the actual bar carders. They love this wall. Yeah. The barristers always erect a wall between themselves and their victims.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting though, because this guy sounds like he's higher intellect.
Yeah, so he's an intelligent guy without a doubt, but it's like everybody else. He's only been granted the knowledge that he's been given, or the stuff that he's allowed to believe, to function in his capacity.
Well, you just gave him incredible information, empowering information that's going to put him on par or beyond his law or his attorney bosses. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. Well, please continue.
Sorry?
Well, please continue.
Oh, right. Okay. So anyway, I'm being by this stage. Hopefully, I haven't omitted anything too important. But I'm sure you're getting the gist. By this point, I'm then being handcuffed yet again, escorted out of this other cell, up through the little corridors and up some flights into what I then see as a glass cage. Now, having never been in court before, but having seen videos of courtrooms on the internet or wherever, I kind of expected this open room, with kind of freedom to, if I chose to convey the message that I wanted to convey. But oh no, there's these two hired thugs who are there to grunt and groan and show me the way. Escorting me up into this glass cage, which has like slits in the glass so that there's So I'm in this glass cage, and the rest of there's facing me as I'm stood with two of these goons on either side of me. The one on the left seemed pleasant enough. They're both pleasant, but they're just hired muscle, jail keepers or whatever. Right. So I'm facing out through this glass, and I come up and I see that my friend Maria is there in the courtroom. Thank God, kind of a face that I recognise. looking naturally and expectedly somewhat kind of concerned, mildly distressed because of my unlawful incarceration yet again. Mm-hmm. And I saw her and I just smiled and gave her a nice happy wave and went, "Hi." And I didn't care what anybody else in that room thought at that time. So then I'd look around and there's 3 magistrates on the far wall with the crown crest mounted on the back wall. Then below them, I deduced after a couple of minutes that in the centre below them was the actor fulfilling the role, animating the role of clerk to the justice or clerk to the court. And then in front of him, but with their backs to me, on the left-hand side was this Mark, the guy who was representing for me, theoretically. Mm-hmm. And to his right, on the other side, was who I assume and presume was the prosecution solicitor. So, if I remember rightly, the clerk started spieling off what he was saying, saying that following this event or whatever, as their words were, on the 5th of January, when I was challenged with, at the time in real life, I was challenged or accused of theft because of the fact that I'd put my own personal number plates on my vehicle. And I was arrested at that time for obstructing the police because I would not admit or give a legal name. And since then, my memory is just a bit, because obviously it's just trying to soak in all this information whilst you're going through it. They've somehow changed the charge to something else. For the moment, I can't remember what it is, but they've changed the charge somehow. So he's reeling off all this stuff, and I'm staring at the individually the magistrates on the far wall. I'm looking at them directly in the eyes, one by one. There's a female and 2 males. The female might have glanced up at me, but really wouldn't maintain eye contact. The 2 guys did. The one on the far left from my position was looking right back at me, but I just maintained the contact, and then he would glance over either my friend Maria, who was in the court, or the guy who was speaking on the legal name's behalf or my behalf, whichever. Mm-hmm. And they just continued to do this, and they asked me. They directed the question to me, "Are you the legal name?" And I just responded, "It's illegal to use a legal name. In asking me, you are aiding and abetting me to commit fraud."
Fantastic.
And they disregarded that, and they carried on with their back and forth, their tennis game in the court. And there came the time where the Mike, the guy speaking or conveying a message on my behalf, was saying, trying to explain that he kind of misconstrued the message, but I was taking it as he's relaying it in the way that he knows he's allowed to, with regard to the fact that he was boiling it down to my beliefs, right, being different to what they were trying to enforce. Mm-hmm. He said, and fair play to him, he said, given that the defendant has no history of criminal offences, has never been, prior to this incident, has never been locked up before, blah, blah, blah. They were basically determining whether they were going to keep me locked up or release me on what they call bail again. Mm-hmm. and there was a little back and forward, and the prosecutor even mentioned things to do with human rights. And given that there was no, as in our eyes, there has been no crime. It's an act and statute. But I was severely limited in having any ability whatsoever to vocalize my opinion or get my message across personally or privately, from my living being itself. At one point, the prosecutor, I caught a pause in what she was saying, and because I wanted to, being wary of using any legal jargon, any legalese, I didn't want to get caught up in that trap. I felt like saying, whatever it is, I contest that, or whatever, something she'd said, because she said something that wasn't strictly accurate, obviously distorted by legalese and so on. I basically, I can't remember what it was I blurted out, but as soon as I did, given that I waited for a pause in the prosecutor's speech, the clerk to the court, who I might add, both myself and my friend Maria noticed that the clerk of the court was one hell of an arrogant, obtuse, young guy who, these guys, they're just full of their own self-importance and, thinking they are something relevant. But amazingly kind of just obnoxious. So I didn't get a chance to say what I wanted to say, but the upshot of it was that they were the magistrates, the Three Stooges, the magistrates, then decided to what is it they call it when they go away to confer. The other thing I was going to say as well.
They recess?
Yeah, they took a recess, yeah. Mm-hmm. During which point I was then re-handcuffed, taken back down to the little cage until their return. But the thing I forgot to mention was when I went up there, the magistrates asked me, said, please sit, directed to me. And I said, I prefer to stand, thank you. Basically to not do what they were telling me to do. Very good. And the goon on my right hand side was ready to kind of, force me to sit or whatever. But the magistrates kind of, I think they sensed that I'm not creating any problems. I'm just standing up for my own rights. And so they kind of waved and said, no, don't worry about it. Leave him stand. So anyway, back to when they finished their recess and I was re-handcuffed, brought back up into the glass cage, and they discussed it a bit further, and they were discussing whether I was a risk of fleeing, or not coming back for bail, and so on and so forth. And the upshot of it was that the legal, well, I don't know, it's funny because I've got a copy here of what is entitled HM, Her Majesty's Court Services South Wales, important information for people released on bail. Obviously it says people, not persons, which I just picked up on. Mm-hmm. And then continues to say, it is in your own interest to read these notes. The curious thing is, there is absolutely no name whatsoever on this. Okay? Wow. It just says, you have been bailed to appear at Swansea Crown Court on the 22nd of February 2016 at 10 a.m. And it's got a load of blurb below that, which I can send you a copy of this if you want to see it. Yeah, all your paperwork, if you can get it to me. Absolutely. What I can do is I can put it into the files section so that people can learn from that. Sure. This is the thing as well. I wanted to put it out there that in case whatever you'd kind of gathered from us speaking before, I'm somebody who I relish my privacy and anonymity. The last thing in the world I want is to be infamous, famous, celebrity, or anything. The only reason, obviously, I'm sharing this with you is so that other people can learn from it. Right. So I just wanted to put it out there. I'm not on any kind of ego trip or anything like that. But given that this is, I'm swiftly comprehending that this is uncharted territory, at least in this specific part of this plane on which we inhabit.
Yeah, you're sharing your experience in order for us all to become more wise.
Absolutely, and
yes.
Given obviously from the previous recording, a lot of people seemed to get a lot of beneficial information from it. So, yeah, I just want everybody to be able to learn from this so we can speed up this process of revealing this fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been given the impression that I am expected, the living person, as is documented in the paperwork that has been submitted to the clerk of the court, that my physical living being is expected to turn up to Crown Court, which in one sense I think, or I'm interpreting as, it's potential good news, because it's a minor, as they might see it, it's a minor infraction of their rules and regulations, for which it would be wholly disproportionate if I was to be unlawfully incarcerated again. Mm-hmm. But what, from you and anybody else who can provide guidance, shall we say, I need to try and establish whether it's a good idea, opportunity to attend this invitation as the living being in order to convey my message and spread the truth virus even further. But it would have to be obviously under the proviso of establishing somewhere between now and then, if I, the living being, do decide to go to their meeting, that they understand that I am attending it in my capacity as a living being, not the legal identity, legal fiction. I've also got the benefit of my friend Maria is connected with a local solicitor who deals with family and criminal law, and I may be able to have a face-to-face with this guy who's well-renowned, and basically, I don't know, glean some information, provide him with information that we have, and kind of stack up, where is this likely to go? Who else, and who else can I speak to clarify all this nonsense? Whether that will result in, before this meeting that they have proposed, before that comes about, whether this issue that will be dropped, or whether it'd be best in my interest as a living person, so not to be harassed anymore, whether I attend and try and make step forwards at that meeting.
Okay. Well, yeah. Can I give you what I would do on this situation?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, you've indicated this idea of wanting to share this information, and you have done so. You have injected this system in a big kind of way yet again, and you did so. You were brought in, not against your free will. Once again, you didn't go into this situation of your own free will, of your own volition, and so. With that being said, you injected all this great wisdom and truth and whatnot about the legal name fraud. You told many, many people many times that it's illegal to use a legal name. The system that within that particular city is now fully aware of this position, and that you carry it and you stand in it.
Yeah.
So if I was in that situation, I would, again, decline any offer from them to attend one of their meetings. Yeah. All those invitations are simply offers, and I would decline. Those are legal offers, and I would decline that. Now, if they wanted to come and pick you up again by threat of force of arms, then you're going to have another opportunity to inject this truth once again.
Yeah.
But, and that may happen, that may not happen.
Yeah.
what you've got going on here right now is fascinating because they picked you up this second time based on failure to show up for a bail hearing, right?
Yeah.
And that bail hearing was predicated upon a contract which you never signed.
Yeah.
So there's no party, insofar as you're concerned. You don't represent a party that's on that contract in any way, shape, or form. So they're breaking their own rules right now, big time.
Exactly.
And so that's a good thing because you want them to continue to break their own rules and to proceed in dishonor.
Yeah.
That's we obviously we don't want them to do these things, but that needs to be their dishonor and their sin, so to speak. You need to stay on the honorable side. If you accept a legal invitation with them from their court to show up, you are entering into dishonor as they are in dishonor.
Yeah.
But if you were to do that, then they become honorable, and you become dishonorable. So, so there. I think this is fantastic. You're a peaceful individual.
I've maintained and reiterated to them so many times that I'm a benevolent, loving, natural living being. I intend no harm. I intend to cause no harm, injury, loss to another person. I've reiterated the fact that I will be, willingly forthcoming under common law if I was ever to cause harm, injury, or loss to another living being. But they have, as we said before, they just have they do not have the capacity to comprehend what I'm saying or accept what I'm saying. They are so blinkered in their indoctrination. They just do not have the ability to think outside of it.
That's you're the teacher here.
Yeah,
you're teaching these people. This is the first time they've been taught, and every interaction with you is gonna be more teaching to them. What they're trying to do is they're trying to bring the living man into them, and convert him into a copper top. So what you need to do, and this is what I would do. Let me rephrase that. What I would do is I would insist that they come to me.
Yeah.
And if they're going to have anything to do with me, they are going to have to be in error, and they're going to have to be malevolent.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be.
No, exactly. So the way I see it, I need to compose some communications to the relevant entities, have them submitted into the file, reiterating all this.
You could,
you
could.
So it's on record. I don't know. Well, following, I'm going to make contact, shall we say, with the entities that the one Mark who is talking on my behalf in the courtroom, and also have a discussion with this other legal entity who is my friend has connections with, and I don't know, just feel my way through and see what reasonable steps can be taken that can help educate the people in this system without compromising my integrity or putting me in dishonor, and basically be like an investigator, an explorer.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So this last time, did they offer you bail papers again?
Because when I left they were escorting me from the police station. They knew I wasn't going to sign anything. They didn't give me any paperwork. They just escorted me over to the courthouse. They gave me nothing. Oh, here's an interesting bit as well. Obviously, they stripped me of all my belongings and put me in a bag with a security tag on, and that was transported with me from the police station to the magistrate's court, where should we say, the hired help held this bag of trinkets of mine. And on leaving, I was given no paperwork at all, personally, to answer that question. But on leaving, obviously, I sought to recover the belongings that they removed from my physical person. Mm-hmm. And you got all these jail keepers who, shall we say, are not or are picked for their specific intellect or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, right, you need to sign before we can give you your stuff back.
One last attempt.
Yeah, exactly. And I refused. And I said, I can't sign. And I said, you got to, it's our rules. And they were kind of getting a bit shirty about it. And I was keeping it cool. And said, look, you don't understand why I'm here. I'm here because I can't sign for anything. And, but we got rules, we got policy. We're not giving you this unless you sign. But the maitre d', shall we say, of the situation, which was this lady, shall we say, for a woman, for a better expression, she kind of clocked onto what was going on at this point, and just said, "Oh God, here you go," and gave me the bag of my stuff. Which again, there's a lesson. Whether they probably will not fully appreciate what that represents, but that was a lesson, a demonstration for these other actors. Be polite about it. Mm-hmm. That no, I'm not going to sign for something just because you tell me. So she kind of said, "Oh, here you go on, bye." So I got my goodies back and was led out to the back door where I was led in to from the prisoner transportation. And there was my friend Maria waiting for me, thank God, which was great, and she gave me a lift home. But she had been given by the guy who was representing me in the courtroom this piece of paper, which I'll send you a copy of. Which has no name on it. So I have at this point I have no documentation following this last event with a legal name or other on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's bizarre. It just makes, from our position of comprehension. I hate using the word understanding now because that has connotations that I do not like. Mm-hmm. But from our level of comprehension, this all makes absolutely zero sense, and it is hysterical.
It is.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: so they gave you a piece of paper. This is a little bit of a subtle thing that's been brought up at other tables because that's an offer. Yeah. Now, of course, there's no. I'm offered a piece of paper. I accept the piece of paper. There's nothing binding there, other than the fact that I've accepted a piece of paper. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily. It doesn't mean I'm accepting what's written on the paper. But again, you're talking about crazy people within the legal system that, especially barristers, they will presume such crazy things as being true.
Well, they created it, so yeah.
Right. So that's just the thought there. Whenever you're extended a piece of paper, might want to consider declining that. I think I would, by the way. I think if I was extended paper, and I'm so glad that you brought this up because...
well, given that it was passed to me, folded up into eighths or sixths or whatever, 16ths, maybe 12, I don't know. It's folded over 3 or 4 times, and it was just Maria just passed it to me, and I took it. And I didn't know what it was.
They gave it to Maria?
Sorry?
They gave it to Maria?
Yeah, to give it to me.
Okay. Well, that's
I haven't been given it directly.
Okay.
It could have been a piece of paper with any old bloody writing with directions to the local pet shop, for all I know.
This is a little area I would like to talk to someone. I'm going to talk to a couple of people about this. Okay. But I think in the future, if I was in a similar situation, my hands wouldn't touch their papers.
No,
I wouldn't allow for it.
Yeah, so. Well, when this was the other, obviously, as we discussed before, that it's all a big learning curve for anybody who's going through this because it's all new and bizarre. Mm-hmm. But when I was released from the police station, when I was held for 24 hours, they offered me the piece of paper then, which was detailing the future bail hearing for the legal name. And I didn't accept it directly off them. Mm-hmm. But for my and I went and they allowed me then in between time. They left it on this countertop whilst I went and took off the prison issued paper whatever jumpsuit,
pajamas.
Yeah, and put my clothing back on, and then on the way back through, I just kind of just picked up this piece of paper, but not kind of directly. And we discussed this before. Maybe I shouldn't have, but yeah, it was like information gathering, I suppose. But
right,
that had the legal name on. This one doesn't have any name. It just says "you" on it. I mean, we all know that, obviously define YOU. You is plural. You is it's non-specific.
Right. In New Jersey, they say "yous," so it's plural.
Oh, right.
Yous guys over there. Well, which one? There's how many? I mean, yeah, exactly. So there, within the 2D universe, they have no contract, and they haven't yet. Yeah. So, which is the reason you were set free is because of your continued insistence on not sinning.
Yeah. But now the obviously kind of inner work that you kind of do whilst you're in this situation, I was just laughing to myself on this one. The previous time I was a bit shaken and shell shocked and so on. This time I'm kind of like, this is so amusing.
It really is.
Yeah, I said to the officer who escorted me from this premises to the police station, whilst I was waiting in that little holding cupboard, and it was open, I was chatting to him. I said to him, I said, years ago I reflected to myself, wouldn't it be fascinating? Maybe I've manifested this myself, but years ago I said, I used to wonder, out of curiosity, what would it be like to experience being in jail and so on? And I said to him, this is an amazing experience.
It really is.
That's the way I'm looking at it now. This is an adventure, an exploration.
Really.
And if it can bring benefit to clarifying this corruption and fraud, then fine. I'm the one I've chosen to put myself through it for the benefit of anybody else. But it is, you've got to kind of I've had to start to develop this attitude of this is funny, this is ridiculous, it's fascinating in a bizarre kind of way.
It really is. It's fantastical to listen to. What's happened here is the entire Crown construct, the Matrix, the whole thing, the best of the best within it, bore down upon you.
Yeah.
And you just laughed and told the truth, and the truth sets you free.
Yeah. It's like I was going to mention on Facebook, I posted an animation of Plato's Cave.
Uh-huh.
It is that in reality.
Mm-hmm.
These guys have been living in a cave all their given lives, and they cannot comprehend that a different reality exists outside their cave. Not
until you showed up, and now you're rocking their world big time.
Exactly.
This is so awesome. If they want to get some more of you, and if I was in your situation and they wanted to get some more of me, they're going to have to come to me, and by threat of arms, they're going to have to take me in, because I'm not going willingly. But if they drag me in, I'm going to be very educational.
Oh God, yeah. And I kept explaining that to them as well. That I'm allowing myself to be here in order to educate you guys. And they're kind of like looking at me, in whatever way they look at me, like, yeah, okay. But that is it. When I was in the police station, because I can't remember if I clarified that. I thought I'd started a video on my iPhone when they were at the gate of the house. But because I'm not practiced in using the video on the iPhone, it apparently didn't work. But I've got a short video. I don't know whether that's of any use to you. I can send it to you if you wish. But basically, it's got me saying to them, explaining that, all right, I will choose to come with you only to avoid any further aggression, intimidation, or potential violence, because as I said earlier, I could tell that's where it would go. And when I got to the police station, they're all fine. I was chatting to them, and I was doing my best subtly to kind of say, you see, this is the situation. I know you don't get it. It's hard to get around your head because you've been trained and so on to believe what you believe. And that was all fine. It was all cushy. I was there helping them in a sense. And then the sergeant came in, and I could tell immediately he got this attitude of, you're speaking shit. You don't know what you're on about. How come you've got a mobile phone? And also saying things like, we can see on our records that you used to be a salesman, you used to work in agriculture, almost kind of like saying, look, we know all about you.
Yeah.
And trying to intimidate me to think that, the gig's up, I better fess up.
Right.
But he would ask me questions, then he would deny me the opportunity to explain fully. And I've noticed that's a tactic of theirs. They will only give one the time to basically say what they want to hear. Anything that you want to say in truth that is contrary to what they believe or have been told or want to hear, they cut you. They shut you down. Mm-hmm. There was something else I was going to say as well. Yeah, because they were asking me, all right, well, you used to have if you're this person who law doesn't apply to you and all this, which is a misinterpretation yet again. They're saying, well, you used to have a driving license, and we've got that, and I was going to explain. I was hoping to explain to him, look, up until the point that I became aware of this corruption and fraud, I went along with it like all the other people in ignorance. But now the fraud is revealed. But they just cut you off as soon as you start to attempt to clarify it for them, so you don't get a chance. This is why, from my point of view, as a potential, subject to any further kind of insights, the potential to go to the Crown Court, which is other than, I don't know what the highest court in the land in the city of London is, but it may be an opportunity to speak sense to some people, or in between time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and feel free to do that. Just make certain that you never accept any legal offer extended to you because of the presumption. Yeah. Even if they say, we're just extending it to the man, well, it's not possible. There can be the legal arm cannot be extended to a man. It can only be extended to a legal fiction.
Yeah, because as I put in my letter to the chief constable and his master, that I am not a commercial entity.
Right.
Thus, they are functioning as a commercial enterprise. I am a sentient, natural, authentic living being. You have no business with me. But they just don't. They won't give you the time to detail that to them.
Here's another way to state that I am not a commercial entity, nor am I legally authorized to represent a commercial entity.
Yeah.
Because that's what living beings are doing when they use legal names. They are, without legal authorization, they are representing a legal fiction. The other thing you can do with the cops when they want to shut you down. If you get the idea that that's what they want to do, then it's, if they continue to ask you questions, say, look, why don't you let me speak to the attorney that's in control of this entire situation?
Yeah, because I tried that.
Yeah, because ultimately that's who's in control of the cops. So let's just go straight to the top and get this cleared up.
Yeah, and that's what I was seeking. And I said to them before they finally this afternoon decided to, in their words, arrest me, but obviously my interpretation is unlawfully abduct me. I said to them, look, we can clear this up now if you get this copy of this communication to your boss and show it to your barrister or solicitor. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it is like you say, they're like the guard dogs.
Yes, they are, and because I kind of look at them like priests, and they don't want to be sullied or dirtied by the common prole.
No.
They don't want to have to be faced with reality.
They don't want to have to deal with the filthy eaters.
You got it. So, but the way to, if they continue to shut you down, if the cops do, you can shut them down also and say, look, if to continue this for any conversations here to continue, I will have to speak to a barrister. Yeah. So, and I'm not looking to hire one. They're the only ones qualified to be discussing legal anything. You, without a bar card, are not qualified to be discussing legal anything.
Because also, as I have learned, and as I always convey to anybody else who I interact with now, is what we were discussing before was the concept of you got to stay as polite as possible, amicable as possible, passive as possible, because otherwise, I've detected this with these guys without a doubt that if I'd said, for example, look, this is information that's above your pay grade, let me speak to your boss, they would react badly to that, I think. Yeah. But so you've got to be subtle, and unfortunately, it's you have to kind of go through the motions with them, let them play their little games, despite the potential distress that it could cause one, and seek a higher authority by one method or other. So now I've got this opportunity, having had this second encounter, to try and establish a communication with some higher authorities, i.e. a barrister, or as close as I can get to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely.
But this is a great. Whilst I was in there, I was thinking as well, amongst other things. But I was thinking, I'm dying to catch up with Ciro about this.
Well, this is going to be this is a great recording. This is going to be very helpful to people because, again, it's an ongoing series of standing in the truth, and the result of that is being freed. This time, very quickly. Yeah. So exactly. You have infected this system in Swansea with the truth, and there's no way for them to recover.
No. Well, given also that you could interpret this as good timing or bad timing, in terms of synchronicity, serendipity, whatever you want to consider it as. But this Crown Court hearing that they have offered is on the 22nd of February. I know that are you aware of I think you probably are, the adverts, the billboards that are due to come out at the end of February.
Now, I have seen some on Facebook on another site. I was wondering about that. What's going on with all of those?
Right. Well, I had a word with Kate, but it was Jolly D who gave me the info a couple of days ago, because obviously I had this the challenges that I have been confronted with, put it this way, since my first abduction. Such as my computer crashing and being on my third hard drive and thinking, my God, what the hell is going on? And I believe it's all happening for a reason. Everything does. I have absolutely no question about that. Thankfully, obviously, I managed to, in between that event and today, I managed to get my computer functioning properly again. Thank creation. And when I got back online, and I touched base with Jolly, and she said there was a curious message on Skype from her saying, "Got great news for you, or exciting news." And I was like, as soon as I was back online, I'm like, "Hey, I'm back online. What news? What news?" And then she started to reveal to me that a very, very kind sponsor to this what do you want to call it, movement, for want of a better expression, has funded or sponsored some billboard activity across the UK, and wow! Because of your interview, your recording of us chatting last time, this sponsor heard it and decided, right, that would be brilliant to have some billboard advertising in Swansea, which is the heart of, or the home of, the DVLA, which is the the corporation that licenses people to drive, issues driving licenses here for the whole of the UK incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's get. I think there's scheduled. There might be say a dozen of these big billboards that are going up at the end of February around Swansea. A couple of them are literally 2 minutes walking distance from this premises here that I'm talking from.
Wow. And are these scheduled to go up simultaneously?
Well, the information I've been given is that there are set dates, but those dates might fluctuate by 1 or 2 days either side of those dates. But they will run. The billboards will be there for a duration of 2 weeks from the date that they are started. And I think, without just checking, I think it's towards the. It's either somewhere from the 22nd, funnily enough, 22nd February up to the 29th of February are the start dates.
Okay.
And there are other billboards scheduled to be put up in other, I don't know where, but other parts of the country as well, where there are other entities on this piece of the planet who are being quite active as well.
Oh my goodness, I've got a Jerry Lee Lewis song going through my head right now, and it's entitled "Whole Lot of Shaking Going On." And to think, the man Jerry Lee Lewis was kicked out of England.
Was he?
At one point, yeah.
Oh, no. He must have been a good guy then.
I think it had something to do with him dating his cousin or something or another. But yeah, there's there's a whole lot of shaking going on. I tell you what, this is fantastic. This is very good news. This is what it is to stand in truth and to be persistent about it.
Oh God, yeah. And I think, again, revisiting old conversations, but this is why we're doing this. This is why, obviously, I'm sharing this information with you. You're recording it. You're getting out there, and it's fantastic because people, it's building a head of energy that this has never obviously been achieved before.
Right.
And I do believe if we haven't already, then we're not far off the critical mass where it's gonna reach, if not already, the tipping point.